was a struggle to get my boyfriend's attention. Video games, sports, the boys. But that all changed once I found out about Simpalta. Simpalta is the first and only FDA-approved medicine specially formulated to promote simping. This is how it works. Simpalta is a once-daily transrectal supplement designed to enlarge the simp region of the brain. Simpalta saved my relationship. My boyfriend went from ignoring me to simping for me immediately. He no longer wanted to play video games or hang out with the boys. He had the urge to wake up early, go to farmers markets, and wear cute outfits, just for fun. And the best part is, Simpalta is 100% safe, so there's nothing to worry about.
Simpalta is extremely dangerous and not for everyone. Side effects include depression, loss of respect, shrinking testicles, loneliness, hallucinations, and in some cases, death. Call your doctor immediately if you have a simp erection lasting more than 4 hours.
Relationships can be complicated. Simplify yours with Simpalta.
Yep. And that's why Clint Russell is not here today, because he OD'd on some Simpalta, and we might have lost him forever. Oh, well. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name's Luke Radowski here of thebestpoliticalshow.com, and we will be going live for the next 2 hours discussing all the latest, craziest stuff developing in the news today, as we got some very troubling news surrounding Russia, Ukraine, the United States, and NATO. But don't worry. A bunch of Hollywood actors are now supporting Joe Biden, as Star Wars is now woker than ever. And there's a new African mute rapper and an American 10-year-old rapper. What's going on here? Well, there's also a major sickness case confirmed in Mexico, as well as a fungal disease spreading in New York City. What do you have to know about that? Well, you will finally get those answers in the next 2 hours. So please share this broadcast with your friends and family members. It is more important than ever that you do that, since, of course, the YouTube algorithm really doesn't like us. And the only way that these videos really get out there is through your direct help and support. You could also be involved in today's broadcast. And one easy way for you guys to do that is to simply sign up to LukeUnfiltered.com. When you sign up, you get the ability to call in to the show and actually be a part of it in about an hour and a half from now. We do really cool things with the members. We have a lot of really cool things like masterclasses, a crap list, a seed oil card, nature hikes, as we're going to be doing a big nature hike in New Hampshire in just a few days for now, just for members of LukeUnfiltered.com. Another way to participate is through mysuperchat.com, as of course we prefer you guys use this platform, as it only is a 3% service charge. Not a 30, not a 40, not a 50% service charge, a 3% service charge. And of course, we will be prioritizing these super chats that will also be showing up on screen, and, of course, be a part of the larger conversation that we have here. Joining us for this conversation is Gerad. Gerad, for the people who don't know you, who are you, and how would you introduce yourself?
What's going on, guys? Gerard Michaels, big fan of you guys. Love what you guys do. That website is awesome. I'm a comedian, podcaster from Jersey. I've probably most notable for being fired by the PBD podcast and by being cut by the St. Louis Cardinals. I've got a show called Slick and Thick with UFC fighter Mickey Gall. Just had a great fight this weekend. Another show with Candace Horback, a.k.a. Evil Olivia, called Canceled Weekly. So thanks for having me.
You seem to be canceled a lot.
Yeah, I'm unemployable, as it turns out. Yeah,
employee free is another way that I would say it.
Yeah, unhoused. I'm unemployed. Whatever that is.
Yeah. House free, unemployed. You know, it's okay. Well, in related unhoused and totally free news, we have the wild man himself, party animal, Ian Crossland, in the house as well.
Back from the brink, baby. Well, thanks for having me, Luke. You know me, I'm an actor, I'm a musician. I also tech entrepreneur. One of my companies, Inverted Technology, is on the brink of launching some technology to let you upload your software and like have your own subscribers just pay you directly per the month. You know, it'll be like bypassing these middlemen of Patreon and stuff like that. Super cool technology. Keep an eyeball out for it. And just follow me on social media in the meantime. Been doing this for about 20 years, man. Let's go.
Clintina, nowhere to be found. Unexplained absence, not acceptable.
I got a question. What position were you with the Cardinals before you got cut? What were you working at?
I was a catcher.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, hard for people to believe. Yeah, but I was a catcher.
Clint's a catcher too, if you know what I mean.
Hey-o.
No Clint. Sorry to interrupt you.
We're gonna have to clown on Clint the whole time. since
Clint's got some going to have some travels in the near future.
Unacceptable
so
absence
for the man.
Not okay, Clintina. Not okay. Right, Steph?
Right. It's not okay. I'm still holding him accountable to a tennis match. I think he's scared. And
He's a flake. Clintina, a major flake. We don't like this. Not okay.
You're tennis? You don't do the new school pickleball?
No, I don't like pickleball. I only play tennis on both sides of the court, not that little pickleball thing.
Is it ideological, the reason you don't like pickleball?
Do you think she's better
it's
than
because
it?
tennis is better. It means you're stronger. Pickleballs are for pickles.
What about wall ball? You ever smash a ball up against
I
the
like
wall?
racquetball. That's fun because it's more fast and you don't have to rely on other people to be good.
We should get like a bootleg old Fred Durst doll, and we should put it there in the missing chair, and that would be the Clint camp that we would have here. Sorry, finish your statement.
That's all.
The pickleball's for the hipsters, though.
I love pickleball. I love it.
It's
I'm all
hugely
about it.
popular right now.
Yeah, I love it.
I mean, I'm encouraging of all sports, so go out there and whack some balls.
That's one way of saying it. As, of course, get your cardio in because you might be drafted. As, of course, there is some serious talks right now about the potential of a full, all-out global war. And it's not sensationalistic. It's not hyperbolic. It is legitimate. Lots of really crazy stuff is happening right now in our discourse, especially when it comes to American foreign policy and geopolitical developments, as the New York Post today is reporting that Ukraine just used U.S. rockets to strike targets inside of Russia for the first time ever. Now, this has been a long-standing thing, as of course Ukraine just a couple days ago was asking a lot of the European Union countries, a lot of the NATO member countries, give us weapons, let us strike, and let us use those weapons inside of Russian territory. The New York Times today reports Ukraine strikes into Russia with Western weapons. And of course, the AP is also reporting how the Ukrainians now are demanding more of these long-range weapons that, of course, further escalate this larger conflict, as NATO battle plans have been laid out just yesterday, describing how there will be a rapid response of U.S. troops and equipment to be sent to the front lines on the Russian border that are already being made. This is, again, very worrying, very troubling news, and something that I think deserves our full attention here, since already there's a proxy war. That proxy war is expanding to very dangerous proportions that, in my opinion, is absolutely ridiculous, absolutely stupid, as it definitely does look like the further we go on with this proxy war, the less likelihood there is of any kind of off-ramp off of it. And the trajectory that we're on right now, global war. Am I being hyperbolic? What do you guys think? What's your assessment of what's going on right now?
Not at all. This is what they've been trying to do. They've been trying to figure out a way to cull the herd. They have gotten themselves into such financial disarray that their only real way to get out of this is to accelerate a 10% decrease in the population.
And Gerad, you brought up a good point, because historically, usually there's financial calamities. Financial calamities usually are met historically with war and conflict, because the state, the governments, the sociopaths who are central controllers are saying, now's a good time. Economy got blown up. Let's blow everything else up. Why not? That happens historically, and that right now in today's modern weaponry that's available to these countries, absolutely insane, absolutely sociopathic, and absolutely is bringing the earth on the brink of total extinction.
Makes me
please.
That like the human species repopulates faster than the economy can advance, and that's just kind of a feature of our system. So like as the humans, increase, I don't know, times 2, times 4, times 8, whatever their exponential growth rate, our economy is still relying on oil and driving the fuel across the country to the next place. So we're either going to need a serious advantage in material science, some sort of increase, or we're going to just probably be stuck with this cycle. Because if the kids aren't sent off to war to die, then they're going to create revolutions at home, I think, is the fear of this mass population that's living in starvation and poverty. Terrifying, man. But that's where we're at. And if we don't really enforce and enhance this new material science realm with like graphene or hydrogen fuel, we're probably on the ramp towards world war.
Everyone take a shot. He said it.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that that's what they're saying, right? But the truth of the matter is that the people that are going to get us into this conflict, that have been desperate to get us into this conflict for years, are going to see none of the consequences of it. right? And that's very, very important for people to understand. The people that have destroyed or accelerated the destruction of our economy, they don't see the consequences of it. There was people at the country club. I was pitching a movie. This guy comes by and he's like, "Oh, the shops are always full. It's a 2-hour wait for me to get into any of the restaurants in Boca. I don't know what everybody's complaining about." And I'm like, "Man, how long has it been since you've bought your own groceries, dude? Like how? Like they have none of the consequences. It won't be their kids out in the fields. It won't be them, right? So." Technology does need to increase, but poverty today would have been the lifestyle of the impoverished in America today would have been the lifestyle of the monarchs in the 19th century. So things are advancing. It's just that these people, we're useless eaters to them. It's not advancing fast enough for them. So they're going to cause this death and destruction.
And if it does advance, they're going to weaponize it and use it against us in so many awful and cruel ways.
Correct.
So I think that's also another assessment here that is important because they're the ones controlling this new technology. They're the ones inventing the artificial intelligence, and they're going to wield it for their own personal benefit. There's probably a lot of advanced healthcare that is still being denied to the general public, not just because of profit reasons, but because people are like, why should I share this? This is mine.
Gatekeeping.
Exactly. So there's a lot of technology. There's a lot of things that could help humanity that are deliberately being suppressed by the central controllers, by the establishment, by the government. And that to me is just absolutely cruel and evil.
Well, to that point, if you've read some of the actual things from the World Economic Forum, if you've taken the time to read, first of all, everything Klaus Schwab writes is at a 3rd grade reading level. He's not a remarkable intellect here. But he talks about that they are on the precipice, and Yuval Nori, what is
Yuval Harari,
that evil dude. They're on the precipice of what they believe to be immortality.
Yeah.
So
Kurzweil too. Yeah.
Everything that they're talking about, they have this impending internalized dread that us mere mortals are going to ruin this world for them. We're going to ruin the world. We're going to take up their resources, save the protein for them, save the earth for them, because they are going to be here forever. This is their Elysium.
Jared Kushner even talked about how he is planning on living forever, how he's not drinking alcohol, and he's kind of taking care of his health. As we have this article here by the New York Post, and I'm going to try to pull up right now, but my mouse is being just a little bit weird here. Hold on. Son of a gun.
Yeah,
Hold on.
it was what you guys are talking about. It's not an exaggeration. I've got Ray Kurzweil, who I think he's the head of technology at Alphabet or something. He's one of the top guys. And he's also saying by 2029, we're going to reach longevity escape velocity, which is every year that passes, your lifespan will increase by a year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
here it
is
is.
this like a transhumanism thing where you upload yourself, or is it literally I will reach immortality on planet Earth?
I think it could be a combination of the two.
Well, with stem cell technology and telomere lengthening technology, the possibilities of living forever could legitimately happen, especially when you look at a lot of these elites that are literally hiring blood boys. And they already do this in Mexico. And the man that's spending, what is his name? He's spending millions of dollars on longevity.
Yeah.
He does that with his own son. We have the article here pulled up here by the New York Post that reads, "Immortality is attainable by 2030. Google scientist, futurist Ray Kurzweil predicts the option of living forever will be achieved by 2030." This is a real thing.
Big problem with this is immortality is different than having a longer lifespan. So having a 10,000 year lifespan is not the same as a bullet can still kill the guy. So what I'm concerned with is the fear, the obsession with staying alive. I'm not advocating death. I think living is the best, but fear, if they're living 100,000 years where they're don't die, and that's all they're thinking about is keep the body alive. That kind of fear state can produce this centrally planned authoritarianism where it's we don't want that guy to step out of line. Don't let that thing mess anything up. We need to
Yeah, you just described COVID. Who was it that said the unvaccinated are it's the same as holding a gun at somebody?
Well, we can't really say any of those stuff on
At
this
least one
particular
person, I think.
this segment. Yeah, but what Kurzweil's talking about is using advanced technology and microscopic robots that will be inside of you that will be fending off aging and illness.
And there's stuff to that, nanobots, yeah. Graphene nanobots, self-assembling nanobots, things like that can transport medicine through your system to where it needs to go.
And there's theories that already we're filled with nanobots, and those nanobots could be used to, of course, increase your health, but they could also be used to decrease your health. So there's some theorists out there that believe nanobots are already out there.
You could hack the nanobots?
And this is technology that will be used for good and evil. And just like we see those kind of drones in Ukraine go after all those young servicemen, that's going to be happening on a micro level inside of your blood with these little tiny robots that get into your orifices as you're sleeping. Clints are going to be wide open. They get in there, and then they're just going to wreak havoc and absolutely slowly destroy you. So what you just brought up does make sense, because if people are planning on living forever, they got to get rid of a significant portion of the population in order to do that. And then once they reach singularity, once the AI kind of takes over, once they upload their kind of consciousness, we're going to be living in a new age of superhuman that they don't want everyone achieving, that people are going to obviously not be happy about, since we're going to have the superhumans and everyone else. So I think it's part of the course to say we're just going to wipe everyone out.
Yeah, but the immortal elites need to keep some people around to clean up their toilets. They're not getting down on their hands and knees and scrubbing up.
Yeah, who's going to clean Kelly Osbourne's toilet? Yeah, right?
All
right.
You think Obama's going to be making his own mac and cheese? I don't think so. He's going to have people for that.
Yeah. He has a special chef that
kayaks,
and really loves water sports. Yeah. Right.
For people that are wondering, like, there's an article from 3 weeks ago. Researchers create self-assembling nano devices that move and change shape on demand. They're doing that at Harvard. A lot of work's being done at Harvard.
I had a friend of mine
from 2010
worked at the DOD, said that they were doing some super soldier stuff, and said that they basically kind of think they've figured out aging, and it's just your cells replicating. And it's like when you have a printer and you're running low on ink, that's what aging is. The cells replicate, but they replicate less and less and less. Yeah, and they can reverse that now.
There's when the cells divide, if they don't have enough energy. So what's happening is your body's producing these proteins called sirtuins, and some of them measure the energy in the mitochondria. So as long as you have enough proteins that are measuring the energy, when the cell divides, both of the new cells are fine. They have enough energy. But if these proteins degrade, they get misinformation on the energy readouts. The cells divide. They don't have enough energy. They clip off the chromosomes, the tips, and that's aging. So they put this precursor NMN, nicotinamide mononucleotide, which can produce NAD+, which is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, which causes these proteins to bloom inside your system. And so they're like, they want to give, but it still requires on like drugs, on like taking NAD or NMN to kind of kick, and it's also like resveratrol is involved in it. It kind of uses the fuel.
So nicotine and protein.
It's nicotinamide.
So the Jersey Shore's had it right this whole time. Let's go,
I'm not
boys.
Sure. I don't think smoking will get you halfway there. I don't know how that works.
Tell me beer is in there too, and I'm gonna live. I'm gonna be living forever.
That's a fluoride beverage that calcifies your pineal gland. You want to stay away from.
You do want to lower your blood. Well, people that do it want to lower their blood pressure, so they'll use berberine. And I don't know if alcohol will fill that role.
But even with what just happened within the last 3 years, you do see a kind of divide in our society between people who were kind of larger victims of what happened 3 years ago and people who used it as a larger wake-up call to take care of their health and start exercising and start to actually take everything seriously, since there is a war on your health. For the first time in a long time, life expectancy in the United States has gone down. It will continue to go down. One of our guests said something that I found very kind of important for everyone to realize, and he says, we are going to be facing a huge, severe wave of illness and death, but it's not going to be from what the establishment thinks it's going to be. It's going to be from what the establishment did to you within those last 3 years, that are going to compound, that are going to build, and that are truly going to kind of be in fruition in the future. And people's health is just absolutely dog crap, and it's only going to get worse from here.
Yeah, I'm going to try to be algorithmically correct here, but just the last couple of days, seeing people actively defend that guy.
Yeah.
It's gotten me to the point where I don't want to be around them. I see them as an existential threat to my well-being and the well-being of my loved ones. Not even that they can't acknowledge what happened, let alone an apology, but now you're going to actively defend the situation. No, this is not it. They're the type of people
I mean,
that would be
maybe
pointing
they're
to the
bots.
attic saying she's up there.
Maybe they're bots. Maybe they're not even real people. If you look at the likes and dislikes on the official Dr. Fauci documentary, huge, massive dislikes. If you look at the overall response from the general public, they're like, this guy's like Dr. Mengele.
He really is.
This guy's literally running human experimentation in the worst, most evilest ways on the general public without their consent, lying to them every step of the way, and creating huge, massive amount of human suffering. I think the majority of the public realizes that.
What he
I
did
think
to the
so.
dogs alone, Luke.
Yeah, the beagles. The guy doesn't like dogs.
He had them like they stuck their heads with the beagles in these boxes and then put bot flies in there to eat their
Sandflies,
faces.
I believe.
Sandflies
Yeah,
to eat.
not
What?
before severing their vocal cords so that the people didn't have to hear their cries.
It's freaking crazy, man. Animal experimentation, and humans are animals. Keep that in mind.
$700 million they gave that guy.
That
$700
was
million.
do you know where the funding came from for that? That's for the bot fly or for the sandfly research?
No. For the other thing, the big thing.
The 2020
the
research
The big
over there in Wuhan.
experiment.
Yeah. Well, in about 40 minutes, we'll be able to speak freely, as of course we're now officially on YouTube, a platform that doesn't like you saying specific things. So we'll have to save it for that. As of course, I wanted to continue the story that we were just talking about here, because it definitely does seem that what the United States is doing is extremely reckless. It's extremely dangerous, and it could only be explained, in my opinion, by them legitimately trying to start a new world war. Newsweek has this article. Kremlin issues stark U.S. statement as retaliations hit new low, specifically describing how Russian President Vladimir Putin's official press secretary came out and called the United States a, quote, an enemy. Yes, for the first time during a press conference just a couple hours ago, Vladimir Putin's press secretary called the United States an enemy. And if Russia officially recognizes us as the enemy here, with Vladimir Putin now saying, hey, stop giving them weapons that they're using here on our Russian territory, the United States, of course, won't be listening to that. Is it really Joe Biden calling these shots? No, it's not. Who is? Well, a deep state apparatus that clearly is looking to escalate things, and they might be trying to escalate things because that might be a way of saving face. That might be a way of saving their power grip on this country. As, of course, if we're involved in a larger global conflict, that means that they get to set up martial law, they get to suspend elections, and they get to do a lot of other awful stuff when it comes to restricting and destroying your God-given rights. And during time of war, that could all go out the window. And that's a real possibility here, because how else do you explain any of this? I just don't get it.
Go ahead.
I think of it as like an imperial, like the British Empire is the Emperor Charles is like, I don't think he's in charge anymore. It's kind of like more like the Praetorian Guard took control of the Roman Empire, and they just kill off the emperor if the emperor stepped out of line. So Charles is in line. Empress Elizabeth was in line, but there's still like, it looks like the Five Eyes Spy Club is basically like a British spy club that they formed after during World War I, because the bad guy, we got to spy on the Japanese and the Germans. And it just has kept growing and growing and growing, and now it's grown into the Five Eyes thing. And it's all British. It's like New Zealand, Australia, Canada, England, and then the United States is in there. So there's those 5 countries. And I think it's a British versus non-English speaking thing. I can't tell. Maybe it's much bigger than just British at this point in English. Maybe it's just more banking and financial. But like the royal family is one of the wealthiest corporations on earth. It's not technically a corporation yet, but probably should be. I was thinking they could convert their wealth into a corporation to kind of become normalized. And I don't know what this conflict's about, man. Is it about running oil through the Ukraine? Is it about preventing Russia from getting Sevastopol and having Mediterranean Sea access, just trying to stub their toe, just slow down the growth of the Russian Federation?
They need a war. After Afghanistan, they needed a war to launch all the horrible things that they usually do during wars. The deep state apparatus usually uses war as cover for human trafficking, drug trafficking. Mm-hmm. As soon as Afghanistan ended, they didn't have an excuse to do any of those things in that very specific region. So now the new territory kind of moves in. The new kind of conflict moves in that fulfills all their wishes and demands. and their secret black budgets that they're able to do under the cover of this kind of larger conflict and war that is predominantly killing off Slavic people. Slavic people that are already below replacement levels, and now you add this war, you add the possibility of a nuclear exchange, you add the possibility of other countries getting involved here. It looks like it's a direct, deliberate attack on Western peoples and a larger escalation in order to eliminate them off the face of the earth.
So, just to touch on how callous the people we're dealing with are, they got out of Afghanistan just because it became unpopular to have these proxy wars with brown people. And then they just continued it in another place with whiter faces. That's all they've done here. And as far as what we're dealing with, as far as who and the where, the quote unquote deep state, the blob, as Mike Benz says, it's NATO, guys. It's NATO. You talk with any person who's long-term DOJ, Homeland, any CIA, and they don't really believe in the nation state as a concept. I mean, the idea of NATO, do we vote for NATO? Do we, the peasants, have any say in what NATO does? Do we have any say in the IMF? Do we even know who's running anything over there? No. The nation state to them is a hindrance to their jurisdictions. All right. They believe in global federalism, which I think will end up as global feudalism. And they want NATOs. They want super governments. They want NGOs. Okay. Someone like Soros is running the world one prosecutor at a time, and there's zero way to hold him to account. Well, there's one way to hold him to account, but we can't say it. There's zero way for most people to hold him to account in the systems that we have. And now if you look at it from a strategic perspective, you guys talked about war. Like, the poor can't be controlled because they have nothing to lose. The rich can't be controlled because they have resources. This always is a pinch on the middle class. And we talked about it almost jokingly before, but these super elites are going to need landscapers. They're going to need their chefs. They're going to need their janitors. And as the American middle class became financially self-sufficient, the American middle class became a problem for these people because we can tell them to F off. We can have union strikes. We can start our own businesses. We can move out of our state and eliminate the tax base and vote with our feet and come down to Florida, right? The migrants that they just put in aren't going to do that. The migrants that they just put in are replacement level, low wage employees. So as the police officers, as these people were eliminated during the experiment, right? Because they failed the obedience tests. They either were forced to retire or they were forced to quit. Who stayed on? People that were dedicated servants of the regime. Who are they going to be replaced by? People that are dedicated servants of the regime, right? So if you look from a strategic standpoint of what's happening, everything here is happening to replace the disobedient American middle class.
Yeah, it's the revolutionary spirit. That's that British Empire weird thing. The emperor, America split off in the late 1700s, and then they pretty much formed corporate business relationships with England right away.
And the badass Slavic people that would be the biggest people standing in the way of the globalists. Slavic people love their religion, they love their traditions, they love their people, they love their culture. They're one of the few people that haven't been kind of destroyed and subjugated. And this is why this war amongst my people is very troubling. Yeah. Because if you look at Eastern Europe, they're one of the few countries still standing against the total kind of globalist takeover. And if you can't take someone over, and if you can't influence them with fifth generational warfare, and if you can't destroy them from within, you just bomb them. You just totally destroy them. And I think that's the pathway that these kind of globalists are seeing this thing, because I just don't get it. I don't understand.
Well, your people lived through it. Your people were ground zero for the totalitarian right and the totalitarian left. Your people lived through a century of this tug of war over them, their bodies, their minds, their hearts, their souls, and their land. And if you're sitting there, I struggle with this. I don't know how you guys feel. I struggle. Like, half of me wants that revolutionary spirit and is like, you know what? That's it. Let's trade the rest of our lives for these elites, and let's show them that they're mortal. And then the other half of me goes, if I got to live in a commie hellhole, I'm going to move down to Colombia and do it around some Latinas. Like, what am I fighting this thing for? There's this fight or flight inside of me is having that own internal thing where it's like, look, either let's do this thing or let them play their games. I don't care.
Well, I think let's do this thing is something that they want you to entertain. They want you to play, and I think it would play along into their larger scheme of things where they would want you to provoke you to do certain things. So then they have a larger excuse to, of course, totally obliterate and destroy you. So that's why I'm not for what we just described in the first place. I do believe there is merit in standing up for yourself and fighting this peacefully, because that's the way that you could truly win it. I think the enemy and the state have kind of mastered violence, and I think us using it is ridiculous, and it plays into their ploy, and it plays into their larger games where they're trying to provoke that from you. That's my perspective.
That's a good point.
The way I look at it is a real successful revolution would be a technological non-compliant state where you don't use certain technologies. You choose to build like resistant systems to censorship, decentralized systems, open source systems, and then you just use those systems instead. Mm-hmm. The key is to make them as good as these centralized incredible pieces of technology that Alphabet's got or that Meta has. If you can make that stuff as good, because it's tough to get the population to adopt the crappier technology just for righteousness' sake. Like they tend towards the most convenient thing.
Yeah, if anything's going to solve the problems, it could be the free market. It could be individuals coming together. It could be people bettering themselves and not being larger victims. Because if you look at the kind of conflict that's being fought right now, it's being fought with information, and it's being fought with people making small decisions that they're incentivized to make, convenient decisions, lazy decisions, easy decisions that truly do kind of put you on this perpetual road where you are going to be the victim of those small choices and decisions. But if you stay away from that, and if you make the hard choices, the hard decisions to take care of yourself, to avoid their crap, to not fall for their propaganda, to not buy their bull crap, to try to be the best, strongest version of yourself for your family, for your community, for your neighborhood, that's a solution that they're deathly afraid of.
Leading by example.
Being an example of the best version of yourself. A lot of us are messed up. A lot of us are physically, mentally, and spiritually not there, but we're the ones kind of pointing the finger at everyone else. Get yourself right. That's the ultimate solution. That's the solution that, of course, obfuscates them in a way where we won't need them because we have created systems outside of them. And this is why I think they're trying to push people towards violence, and that might be a part of the plan. Provoke them enough so they turn violent, so now we have a larger excuse to just obliterate them, because that's one reason why the state many times uses agent provocateurs. A lot of Antifa agents were caught to be police officers. I remember recording this and documenting this. This has been well known ever since the battle for Seattle, ever since the World Trade Organization rallies that were happening all the way back in the 1990s, where police officers literally dressed up as these protesters were provoking violence, and we're using that as an excuse to go after everyone. So this is why the pathways that we're on are extremely important, and I think predominantly we got to focus on this one pathway, because this other pathway has a lot of traps laid out in front of it, and we don't want to get people on that pathway because they're going to ruin it for everyone.
No, I like that. And also it's been proven to a certain extent the meme is mightier than the sword. The memes are winning the information war. I'm a big proponent, and this kind of speaks to what both of you guys are saying. I'm a big proponent of a citizen debt strike. I think that if we can get 1 million people in every state, 50 million people, this to me is what Occupy Wall Street should have been. Everybody, regardless of whether you're left, right, black, white, straight, gay, all of us look at the price of groceries and go, nope, this ain't it. Nope, absolutely not. Just refuse to pay back debt. These people are so leveraged through the hilt. These people, all wealth creation is now debt. All fiat currency's dead. What did the treasury bonds just did? Another 32 billion today, I think. They're so leveraged through the hilt that if 50 million of us decide, not paying it back, it would crumble. It would take 6 months and it would crumble. And everybody says, don't pay taxes. You can go to jail for not paying your taxes. And it's almost impossible not to pay your taxes. They take it every single time you swipe your card. You get a sales tax. They take it from your check before you can even feel the money in your hand. They've taken their pound of flesh from you. But the debt, you get your goods first. You can go to Costco and you can buy gold bars on credit cards. Buy those gold bars and never pay the debt back. Give it 6 months and let these people crumble.
Yeah, not financial advice. don't do your own due diligence.
Revolutionary advice.
Make sure you're doing the right thing for yourself as an individual. Just to clearly represent. Gerad is speaking for himself.
I've thought a lot about that, like the national debt. Like, who do we owe this debt to? Well, the Federal Reserve, a private company. Why do we feel like we, the people, have to bow down to this private company just because we signed some contracts were signed behind our back at Jekyll Island in 1913?
We didn't sign that.
No, we didn't. And Congress did it basically while they were all home at Christmas. A few congressmen were there with Harry Anslinger and some others that like whipped it all together and kind of rammed it through Congress over the holiday in 1913. So like. Yeah, we shouldn't have a private bank. The whole point was avoid private banks. Ben Franklin talked about it. Thomas Jefferson. They're more dangerous.
Shot Alexander Hamilton over it.
Man, then Andrew Jackson. They tried to end the private bank, and they were like, bang, bang. He survived it. But like, so what? I'm not just saying let's just throw a wrench in the gear and stop everything so that we all go flying. I'm saying that maybe we don't need to pay back the interest on the national debt. Maybe we can start there.
But this is what the elites do. They're like everybody brought up Donald Trump's bankruptcies. Those were his company bankruptcies. It wasn't personal bankruptcy. The elites do this all the time. They run up debt in an LLC. They BK it. They extract all the wealth for themselves, and then it's a credit transaction. So you want these people to negotiate? Luke's talking about a draft. If they're even talking about a draft, it's like, okay, nope, hard stop. We're not paying a dime. We're using cash or barter. We're going to go straight we're going to get our food straight from the local sources. We're going to go to the farms. We're going to go farm to table. We're all going to get healthier doing it. And we're going to, yeah. Now, to your point, Ian, are people going to be able to deal without the creature comforts? Maybe not in the beginning, but I tell you what, if you get the groundswell off the ground, once you see some people aren't paying, look what they just did with student loans. Nobody paid back their student loans. Oh, they're getting rid of student loans for these 100,000 people. I'm not paying anymore. That's because eventually it's going to come down to me.
Well, a draft does make sense because recruitment levels are at an all-time low. The youth are fat, they're depressed, and they're unable to carry out basic kind of actions. So if the United States was involved in a larger conflict, which Russia is actively talking about now because of these larger escalations, absolutely, 100%, I would guarantee that there would need to be a draft if the United States would be taking itself seriously. Will they be taking themselves seriously? I don't know. There's talks about the UK starting up a mandatory conscription of all 18-year-olds under the new leadership of the prime minister there. So these are serious considerations because less and less people are signing up for the U.S. military. Less and less people are buying their propaganda. So that's why they might have to force us into something that might be sparked by a kind of galvanizing Pearl Harbor-like event that could start things off. As of course, Vladimir Putin had this to say just a few hours ago as he's suggesting that if the United States is offering weapons to our enemies that they're using on our territory, why don't we do the same thing? Steph, I'm going to play this video. If you could read along and tell everyone who is watching what he is saying, that would be great.
We are thinking on the subject of what if someone thinks it is possible to supply such weapons to the combat zone, to strike our territory, creating trouble for us, then why enlist where no right to supply our weapons of the same class to those regions of the world where sensitive objects will be targeted of those countries. Why do this towards Russia?
All right. As of course, a lot of people responded in very curious ways. One person, Mohammed Abdi, sent out a meme showing Yemen and Iraq waving their hands here. But this could go in many different ways. As of course, if the United States was, let's just say, with a war with Mexico, What if Russia was providing Mexico weapons that they were using on American territory? What if the shoe was on the other foot? And we really got to think about these things from an international kind of global perspective, as there's a possibility that Vladimir Putin could be like, well, let's just support the cartels here. The United States wants to launch a war with the cartels in Mexico. Why don't we just support the cartels, just like the United States supports Ukraine with long-range missiles that they could use on American territory? That's the equivalent here, and that's the way that we got to think about these things, because that's something that you're never going to hear on the corporate media, and that's kind of that's the type of thinking that we really need to implement here, especially when it comes to understanding this conflict, because it's ridiculous, it's crazy, and it's a major escalation that will lead to some severe conflicts and some severe escalations that might not be a nuclear war, but might be unconventional warfare that could affect us very soon.
I'm sure that the thought processes of the Russian Federation people in charge right now are like, well, we don't want to strike the United States on the homeland because that will create a Pearl Harbor swell of people enlisting in their army. We don't want to do that. He actually said, Putin, they declared the U.S. as enemies, and then in the same day, I'm reading like BRICS, it's some Twitter account called BRICS Info, and they're saying...
Well, this is Putin's statements from from his St. Petersburg Economic Forum.
He's also saying they'll work with any U.S. president. They think that Donald Trump the prosecution of Donald Trump's a misuse of the judicial system, and that the charges against Donald Trump are politically motivated. Like, I think that they think that the administration is now an enemy, but that the people and the process is salvageable. It's just a matter of having people that want to use diplomacy over violence at this point.
He knows what he's doing, Putin, man. I mean, I remember when he wrote that letter in, what was it, the New York Times about Barack Obama's State of the Union, and, you know, he hit every conservative talking point in that, and then everybody was like, oh, this guy, Putin's got some points. We lived through this. Well, I didn't live through it, but our country's lived through this with the Cuban Missile Crisis, you know, and essentially he's a student of history, as we all learned from the Tucker Carlson interview, and he's like, didn't we almost already start World War III over this? And I thought we all came to an agreement here, and now you guys went ahead and did it to us. Like, okay,
it's crazy. It's next level
fire back
psychosis.
up the Cuban missiles.
Yeah, like in Vietnam, we weren't targeting Russian soil. It was proxy. It stayed as a proxy war. With the Cuban Missile Crisis, we just pointed where it was cold. It never went hot. But this is like strikes on the homeland are like. That's a total war scenario.
And they keep using the scare tactics of the nuclear. I go back to, again, you know, the elites think they're going to live forever. They don't want an irradiated planet. They don't want, you know, places that you just can't, like the destruction in the cities, then they can't use them. They can't extract those resources. What's the point of it?
I mean, look what they did to San Francisco and New York City. I mean, and Philadelphia. And some places, even in Washington, D.C., they're utter crap holes that have been destroyed from within. A lot of those places aren't safe to walk around. A lot of those places are not the same like they were just a few years ago, and they've destroyed those places.
Even the environment, too. Like, I don't really agree with what you're saying about the elites wanting to conserve the environment and conserve this planet, because even the environment, there's a lot of things that are messed up, like our water, our air, our food. There's so many things that you can't even change. It's like experimenting on the current life right now. So I don't know.
But Steph, do you think that they're drinking the bad water in Flint? Do you think that they're eating the bad food?
I don't think that if I believed I would live here forever and on all the plebes are going to be eradicated, that like I should ruin my waterfalls and my plants, and like I should ruin the air and the precipitation and everything.
They might be doing opportunity cost scenarios, like utilitarianly. They're like, well, if we poison 17% of the planet with radiation, but we wipe out 30% of the overgrowth of population, that'll be a lower cost in the long run. We'll build technology to harvest the radiated cadmium or whatever.
Zuckerberg's not building his $1 billion bunker in downtown Detroit. You know what I mean? Like
it's in Hawaii. Yeah, it's in New Zealand. It's in Latin America.
Yeah, they've got their natural. They're protecting those local natural resources. No, there's no doubt about it. And as far as like, Putin has to understand that he does polling. Everybody knows that this is so unpopular here. It's very small pockets of hyper progressive bots, basically, and you know the neocon DC lobbies. Those are the only people that want this. There is nobody that wants this. If you not only do they not want it, they don't care. If you walk downtown Miami and you held a world map, what percentage of the population would be able to point to Ukraine on the globe?
2%, 5%. I don't know.
What percentage would be able to tell you who is running NATO?
I can't
Zero.
even tell you that. Like generally, I would say the U.S., but I don't know what that means. Is it the CIA? I don't know.
We know who Patton was. We know who Eisenhower. Why don't we know who our generals are anymore? Why don't we know who our leadership structure is? Why do we not know this? Why has it been decentralized to the part where the people sitting here at this table are some of the most well-informed people on in the information universe, and even we're sitting here like, man, I got to look it up. Right? Why? Just think about that. Why? Who's really in control and where in which direction are they trying to push us? Because the general population, it's clear one thing is very, very clear over the course of the last decade. They are scared of populism. Brexit scared the heck out of them, and then Trump took it to a whole nother level where they said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No more. And people think, Trump's being railroaded for this next election. Guys, if I am not as optimistic as you are that this election is going to be in any way, shape, or form legitimate. In any way, shape, or form.
I think people from both political sides don't believe it will be. No, regardless of whoever wins. Biden wins, there's going to be a bunch of Trump supporters that are going to be like, no way. Trump wins, there's going to be a bunch of Biden supporters that are
You're not
like,
giving
no
Chase
way.
Oliver a chance? Or?
So, no.
Chase Oliver wins, we all celebrate.
No, I'm not giving Clint's secret lover the pass here.
It's hard to have
the puppy
trust.
didn't like that one.
It's hard to have faith and trust in the system of voting when it's done on a proprietary voting machine behind closed doors. Like you need open source
How
software.
a guy who didn't campaign got over 80 million votes?
Like you need to see the software code, in my opinion, in order to know, like just to be able to verify if it's good or not good. Not knowing is as bad as it being bad. Like you need verification of trust in your system.
Well,
I
Biden,
have to look at my phone just to open it. I just have to sign. I walked into Jersey and I was like, I need a ballot. They're like, all right, what's your name? And I'm like, it's Gerard. They were like, here you go. I was like, that's it? For real? Okay. All right, thanks. Like, that's crazy. That's insanity. It's insanity.
It should be, I think, a little more complicated. A little more. Like, at least go out of your way to earn the time, like spend your time at the DMV for 30 minutes.
We have facial recognition technology that can tell exactly who you are as you walk down the street.
Well, we don't really want that.
In a voting booth?
Yeah, why can't we just do it with our social security numbers or something?
Listen, I
That
think
makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, it's like we have to put it for everything. You want to get a bank card, you got to put your social security number. It's not like it's such a secret. You put it and there's one and each person has one and that's it. It's like very fair. Like these are the social security numbers that voted here. Or is it supposed to be anonymous?
Well, you could have it go onto like a public database that then you could have just a barcode and your number would be obfuscated, but you'd have a barcode you could scan to verify that your number, which is obfuscated, is the vote that you put in. You could do stuff like that, but yeah, it is supposed to be private. No one's supposed to know who you voted for, including the people that are running the voting.
What a convenient way to complicate it all, though. Like if it is private or anonymous, then how do you know that we're not getting dead people voting?
well, we are.
I know that's kind of what I'm saying.
So the very, very unpopular opinion, and I'm going to state that up front. I get it. I hate democracy. I think it's so dumb. I think plural democracy, one citizen, one vote, is just so stupid. The fact that Elon Musk's vote counts the same as Honey Boo Boo's is an incredibly flawed system. Everybody should get a vote. I believe in a weighted system. I think, that, this is getting dangerously close to a social credit score, but I think that we want to empower the best and the brightest to have an outside say in what we're doing. I think, voting almost like in the Roman times, becoming a citizen, I think that there should be qualifications. I think that mothers, people that have children should have more of a say in local elections involving the school board, for example.
But women vote overwhelmingly for the Democrats.
I think people should have to live in an area for 3 years before they can vote in that area or something. Like what we want to prevent is a guy rolling into town, not knowing anything or anybody, and having as much say as everyone else in the town.
I
You're
would
like, hold
disagree
on,
with you guys.
get to know our system
I think
first.
the biggest thing that matters more than actual voting is voting with your dollar. I think if humanity really wants to fix things up and really kind of change things, they would change the small decisions that they make. And I think that's more important than just an overall general election every 4 years. But anyway, let's continue on with the news because there's other troubling developments that go along with the larger theme of what we were talking about here. As Spiegel is talking about how the federal German government is playing out scenarios in the event of war and how they're recommending people now actually clean out their shelters because they're going to be using those underground shelters rather than setting up large bunkers for everyone in the case of a larger full all-out war. This, as we just had the German defense minister telling his citizens that they must be ready for war with Russia by 2029. Steph, if you can, read along here with what this German is saying.
Every euro counts, ladies and gentlemen. We must be clear. A Russian victory would cost us more in the end. As our support for Ukraine today, and at the same time, that goes without saying we should not neglect our own defense or operational readiness. Putin's war economy works towards another conflict. We must be fit for war by 2029. We must provide deterrence to prevent the worst case.
Yeah, not a good situation, as of course, also in the European Union, they're planning on unprecedented expansion of surveillance measures of digital devices. They're spying on their citizenry. They're turning off their nuclear reactors. They're stunting their energy prosperity and still trying to wage a larger war that they're preparing for by 2029. As of course, just recently, the United States seized the passport of American officials. This happened to Scott Ritter just 2 days ago as he was on his way to Russia. The United States State Department decided to get involved here, and they took away his passport and prevented him from going there. As of course, the national security state will be absolutely activated against anyone not officially regurgitating State Department lines. And it's fair to say, as soon as this war gets hot, the U.S. government and the national security state will, of course, be weaponized and will be activated to go against the citizenry that are not falling in line with the larger war propaganda. As Donald Trump looks like he will be the favorite to win the presidency, and already Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, is coming out and saying that Donald Trump will be a loser president if he brings an end to the war in Ukraine. As Donald Trump is one of the few people saying, hey, I'm elected, this war ends, this war stops. And it looks like Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, does not want that to happen for some strange, weird reason. And on the other side, we have Joe Biden, that even the Wall Street Journal is admitting is, quote, showing signs of slipping. Yes, the Wall Street Journal, in one of the nicest ways and politest ways that they could put it, are admitting that Joe Biden is totally out of it. And this is the guy leading us into war, creating all these larger escalations. This is an absolute major troubling sign. And to me, the pathway for the election is pretty clear. Do you want the continued war and escalations, or will Donald Trump bring an end to it? What do you guys think? Because Donald Trump is promising a lot of things, and I think the biggest thing that he's promising is ending this war. It looks like Volodymyr Zelensky is already hip to that and is trying to prevent him from doing that. Congress also is trying to prevent him from doing that by preemptively trying to pass legislation that would stop him from stopping the arming of Ukraine in the future. That's how crazy things are, and that's one reason why I'm looking at Donald Trump and saying, I'd rather have that guy in there than Joe Biden.
In fairness to Joe Biden, poop is very slippery, and he's probably pooping all over the place. So, it's clear, that there is a lot of slippage going on,
Yeah.
But going back to what the politician said, that was the most politician-y politician that's ever politicianed. It will cost us more in the end, as it is right now, because if we lose, we're not going to get any of this money back. That's really what he's saying. What he's really saying is that, guys, we've gone this far. We got to see it through. And also goes back to what I said before. What's it matter to him? Because if they lose, he's out anyway, and he bears zero consequences for what he's saying. Bears zero consequences. It's not going to be him that's impoverished. It's not going to be him whose business gets closed. It's not going to be him. He's going to go somewhere else. He's going to escape and keep going to his wine and cocktail parties. And it's just not going to be them. They bear zero consequences for what they're doing to their own middle class.
As far as I can tell, the cost of declaring peace, and if it was like a white peace, so there's no surrender, there's no loser or winner, you just stop hostilities, and whoever has what territory, that's yours. The cost of that would be Russia would gain access to the Donbass, which is eastern Ukraine, and all that transportation down. I think it's East 97 and East 105, the two freeways that go down to the Crimea, into Sevastopol. Russia will set up tremendous amounts of inner-sea travel and trade. So they'll start making tons of money off their Sevastopol portage. And that's money that lost by the imperial powers of whatever you want to call it, the British imperial powers, or the West, or whatever you want to call it. And so that's the opportunity cost. It will cost us that much in loss and Russian gain, and it will set us back that far on the global economic front. And so they're calculating is worth losing, risking nuclear war and the cost of tens of millions of people's lives worth holding on access to that seaport.
But if that was it, then the United States would be doing everything they possibly could to gain back control of the Panama Canal, right? If it really came down to that, there's easier ways to make up that bottom line.
Or they could be setting up a new Suez Canal in the Middle East in that one territory that YouTube doesn't like us talking about. Mm-hmm. That's also another situation. But the Chinese kind of have bought off the Panama Canal. They're buying off the Brazilian government and their natural resources with the help of the Biden administration. The Biden administration was working very closely to make sure that Lula was elected along with the U.S. State Department, a government that is more favorable towards the Chinese instead of the more right-wing populist kind of government that was there previously that had more of a sphere of influence towards the United States. So it's interesting seeing this kind of dichotomy play out here because the lines are drawn. It's pretty clear. And this election is between Joe Biden, who is bringing us closer to World War III, and Donald Trump, who's promising to end the conflict. This is his major campaign rally. It's why I'm kind of listening to him. He's appealing to the libertarians. He's saying no more wars. We're going to stop them immediately. Will he keep his promise? That's another thing. But the choice is clear. And for some reason, there's still woke, insane, leftist celebritards in Hollywood that are saying vote Joe Biden, as there's a new PSA released by these actors that were probably, in my opinion, paid to read off this script that now is being shared around everywhere with them trying to get more people to vote for Joe Biden somehow. This is insane.
Is it real?
You have an obligation
to be a part of that decision.
You might think it's not important. You might think you're not important.
But that's not true. And the only way we can prove that to you is by having lots of famous people.
Lots of famous people.
Lots and lots of famous people.
just a shit ton of famous people.
But you only get this many famous people together if the issue's
One that truly matters to all of us.
A disease or
ecological crisis or
a racist, abusive coward who could permanently damage the fabric of our society.
Let the black guys say racist.
Do we really want to give nuclear weapons to a man whose signature move is firing?
Firing things?
But we can end this nightmare before it begins.
We can save the day.
For our children.
For our children.
For our children.
For our communities.
For our communities.
For our communities.
For America.
For America.
For America.
All it takes is all of us.
All of us.
All of us.
We cannot pretend both sides are equally unfavorable.
We can't say one vote doesn't matter.
Your vote matters.
Your vote matters. It affects everything.
Not just the presidency, but the Senate.
The House.
Your local officials.
Immigration.
Oh, okay.
Student debt.
Common sense gun laws.
The Supreme Court.
See, this isn't just an election, it's a tipping point.
For the country.
For the world.
For your world.
These out-of-touch, woke, leftist, fricking ninnies crying almost during their little PSA video. I hope this is an AI deepfake, but it probably isn't, as of course, actors will say anything for a buck. And again, do they really believe in what they're saying? As they're talking about, we can't give Donald Trump the nuclear weapons. You want it in Joe Biden's hands? Are you insane? Do you see what Joe Biden's doing right now? Are you crazy? Are they crazy?
Yeah. So these people right there, That's still also, give them credit, that's going to be less woke than the new Star Wars movie, so at least we have that. That's cool. But I know people that are actors. I know people that are in the industry. I've been in the industry myself, as you have. A lot of them feel completely and totally not just bullied into obedience, but helpless that they have to be. And this is a problem for the right, really. This is a problem for the center. The left made massive investments into pop culture, and the center and the right didn't. And there's no alternative for these people. If they're not going to get on Netflix, they're not going to get on in Disney. They're not going to get on HBO if they come out and they actually say, guys, I don't know, this is crazy. Like, this is nuts. So they're doing that because they are A, cowards, but B, that's their livelihood. And we haven't provided them another option not to.
Yeah, so, the last time these celebritards got together, they pushed a rushed experimental frickin' procedure that, according to even the Telegraph, is leading to some excess deaths. So, yeah, these PSAs.
Is that Imagine? They were singing Imagine?
I don't know.
What did they sing? Didn't they do like a karaoke?
And they were also promoting a mostly fiery but peaceful protest that, of course, ripped through many small towns in America and burned them down, as some people are responding to this by saying, no, they weren't paid here. They're just being blackmailed, as, of course, they probably hung out with Mr. Epstein or Weinstein and then were compromised in many different ways. And now we're told, hey, this is what we expect of you. You better go chill out for Joe Biden that is literally destroying everything all around us, including America standing on the world stage. And Ruffalo, really? Ruffalo, we used to interview Ruffalo all the frickin' time. This guy used to be legit. He used to talk about Building 7. He used to talk about asking serious questions about the federal government. Are you kidding me? What are you doing?
It's the environment, Luke. They just care so much about those greenhouse gases.
Utter leftist, deranged woke-tards that are calling for the destruction of this country.
How many people do you actually recognize in that video? Like, how many of these people actually mean something to you? Like, I'm watching this and I'm like, maybe that one's kind of familiar, maybe.
Yeah, I like Iron Man. But at the same time, this is why Hollywood's dying. Nobody wants to get lectured at constantly. Like, these people lecture more than they entertain. When was the last time you saw one of these actors? Like, there's people out, everybody was going after De Niro, and I'm like, I don't really care. I'll always have Raging Bull. Like, I can separate the art from the artist. Like, yeah, I don't want OJ dating my sister, but he's a heck of a running back, like, separate the art from the artist. So, but this stuff, they're just constant. They don't make enough good art for me to put up with this crap. Like, the guy from Prison Break was in there. Come on, man.
Yeah, they're reading off a script, I would imagine. Like, if they're going to really talk, start up a YouTube channel, start up your internet video, and say what you truly believe to the camera. I don't want to hear you reading and repeating somebody's. Like, who wrote that? That should be on that. Written by, like, a campaign ad, essentially.
Biden handlers.
Yeah. Who wrote that?
And they're like, we're just getting the voter effort out as they're, of course, exactly hinting at voting for Joe Biden and telling everyone not to vote for Donald Trump. We're going to continue this conversation. There's also a lot of really woke, horrible rap that we're going to be getting into. Star Wars is absolutely woke. There's a new transmitted fungal infection that has been detected in New York City.
Hey, I told you that in private.
Yeah, hey, it happens, and maybe that's why Clintina's not. Maybe that's why Clintina's not here. He could be in New York City. We're going to talk about that plus a lot more, all on the next platform that we can't even mention here on this particular broadcast. As of course, when you go to that platform, we are on the front page right now of it, next to Glenn Greenwald, the Quartering, and us right here on the front page, which you guys will be able to see as the conversation will be going over there in a totally uncensored and unfiltered way. So if you haven't made your way over to that platform, what are you doing? We're simulcasting. We're live there right now and will be for the next hour and ending this broadcast. Before we do that, Gerard, where can people find out more information about you?
If you go to any of the social medias, it's at Gerard, Gerard, DGAF, or Gerard Michaels. It's on all of your different socials. Check it out. Check out Slick and Thick and Canceled Weekly, and appreciate it.
Follow me.
And related Slick and Thick news, Ian Crossland.
Slick and Thick. I love it. I'm at Ian Crossland. If you want to follow my work online, just find me on any of the social platforms, essentially X and YouTube, all these great social platforms at Ian Crossland, and I'll meet up with you there.
Oh, and I'd be remiss. I'm sorry if you guys could check out me with Dave, the great Dave Landau and Quarter Black Garrett on the Blaze on a Normal World on the Blaze.
Love those guys.
Yeah, we got to get those guys in studio here in Miami. Maybe we could figure
they
something
would love
out.
to do that. Yeah,
so
for
we could
sure.
figure out because I was talking to another major kind of influencer. I don't know if I should say his name, but he's like huge. And I'm like, you got to come down here because you could do all the shows all at once. And this is truly the place where there's a lot of things sparking off, a lot of great podcasters, a lot of great people. Miami is absolutely the place to be. And that's why we kidnapped Ian, and he likes it.
Shout out to Dave Landau and Quarter Black Garrett. I did the first episode of Normal World. I believe it was the first. We did a Drugtopia sketch.
Oh, nice.
Fantastic.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Fantastic.
Check it out. It's hilarious. These guys are geniuses.
Yeah, we just did the professional protesters draft sketch. You guys would love it. Check
Nice.
it out.
That sounds great. I already am thinking of ideas of what that could be and already laughing in my head. Steph, let's read off the Super Chats and then tell everyone where they could find you. Read off the Super Chat from YouTube first, please.
Sure. We have Scrotus Magotus
That's what I'm talking about.
saying Donald Trump may win in November, but he will not step foot in the White House again as president. They will not allow it.
Maybe. We'll see.
We also have Luke's Polish Sausage saying,
That's right.
Hola, amigos. Clint is gone with his girlfriends on a lead float for a pride parade, holding a sign that reads, Biden is my daddy.
You're probably right. You're probably right. Steph, where can people find you?
People can find me at X, Steph WRC, or on Instagram at Steph We Are Chain.
All right, we're going to be going to callers in about 30 minutes. You could be that caller by becoming a member of LukeUnfiltered.com. We are also going to be returning and doing a 2-hour podcast next Monday, Tuesday, and Friday with some really incredible guests. And then we're going to PorkFest. If you want to go to PorkFest, use, by the way, promo code Luke, and you get 10% off tickets. PorkFest, one of the best events when it comes to the libertarian, anarchist kind of community. I love it there. I hope to see you guys there, and we're going to be doing live shows with Jeremy, Lily Tang, Scott Horton, Chris Martinson, lots of live shows, all at PorkFest in about 2 weeks. We hope to see you there in person, live, in studio shows with you maybe. Promo code